Sådär. Då ska vi dra igång ett litet webbinar om de verkliga vinsterna av automation tillsammans med Sami Nikander ifrån Helsingfors universitet. Och jag börjar lite grann kort bara att säga så här, ska vi se, där har vi det. Ja, det vi kommer berätta om idag, det är ju framförallt de verkliga vinsterna av IT-automation. Framförallt så handlar det om vad man har gjort på Helsingfors universitet, vad man har åstadkommit och vad man har dragit för nytta av det. Och dagens presentation, den spelas in och efter eventet så kommer ni få en länk i en e-mail. Men under tiden som själva webbinariet pågår så kan ni jättegärna ställa frågor i chattfunktionen. Vi kommer försöka besvara dem här direkt i chatten. Klarar vi inte av att göra det, då återkommer vi till er efteråt. Och efter webbinariet, målsättningen är att då ska ni förstå vad vinsterna av IT-automation är och förhoppningsvis kunna få lite inspiration för att automatisera era egna manuella processer. Sami Nikander som är med idag på webbinariet, han leder ett utvecklingsteam som jobbar med en produkt som heter Onify för att bygga automationer. Och bara lite grann för sammanhanget så ska jag lägga en bild på att berätta lite grann om vad Onify är för en plattform. Onify, det är en svenskutvecklad automationsplattform. Och som en plattform så har det många användningsområden. Inte bara inom IT, funkar lika bra inom till exempel HR, Internet of Things, verksamhetsprocesser, ekonomi. Onify består av en sökmotor i grund och botten som heter Elasticsearch. Funkar som Google, den indexerar upp data i system som vi kopplar till Onify. Det gör att vi får en sökmotor på er data. Och ovanpå det har man ett väldigt enkelt gränssnitt som är helt rollbaserat. Så beroende på vem du är så kan vi tala om vilken information du får se. Och man kan bygga formulär och man kan bygga många olika dashboards för att bygga olika funktioner. Och sen i grunden har man en automationsmotor, en BPM-baserad som är en standardiserad automationsmotor för att kunna just bygga de här automatiserade processerna. Onify är en väldigt modern plattform som enkelt kan integrera med det mesta. Oftast använder man sig av öppna API:er. Och man får en sökeffekt med sökmotorn som är en sidoeffekt som man får via sökmotorn. Som alltid ger en uppdaterad bild på vad som har hänt, när det har hänt, vem som har gjort det. Vad är status just nu? Hur många datorer har vi? Hur många Mac-datorer utav de här? Man kan ställa frågor. Lite grann vad den här GIFen beskriver på högersidan där som visar en del av gränssnittet ifrån Onify. Det är att du söker på ett begrepp, till exempel Ove Hedlund. Du får upp objekt, de här Ove Hedlund, att han är säljare. Du kan visa där att han jobbar på något företag som heter Automatisera Mera. Ett ärende han har öppnat att han inte kan skriva ut en kvartalsrapport. Och du ser hans dator som man har då. Och på högersidan sen så när man väljer en funktion där så kan man se vad kan jag få starta för automation. Det är så enkelt det är. Men nu är det dags. Sami Nikander, jag vill ta och passa på att introducera dig till publiken här. Och kan du berätta lite grann kort om dig själv?
Ja, hejsan, god morgon. Jag heter Sami Nikander. Jag kommer från Helsingfors universitet. Men jag ska växla till engelska nu. Det är lättare för mig. So it's probably faster and easier for me to do the presentation in English. Yes, thank you. My job title at the University of Helsinki IT Center is a solutions consultant. So, which means I'm a kind of strategic level troubleshooter. So my job is to keep track of our our faculties and other units IT needs and IT problems and the pain points, and try to come up with reasonable solutions to their needs. And that's what I do in many capacities and many roles. But one of my key roles at the moment is I'm coordinating our internal development team that works with automation technologies, especially Onify. So I'm kind of coordinating the day-to-day development of our automation services with Onify. So that's my role in brief.
I'm so happy to have you here in this meeting. So, do you want to talk a bit about what is Helsinki University and a bit about the background there?
You want me have a history of University of Helsinki?
No, just tell me about it. Is it a small university? Is it a larger university?
It's the oldest in Finland. Actually, it's the third oldest in Sweden, because Christina founded it after Uppsala and Tartu University. So, Kungliga Akademin with Åbo was the third one in Sweden back in 17th century. So yes, it's the oldest in Finland. It's the biggest. We have around 8,000 employees as staff, teachers and researchers and so on. We have about 20 to 30,000 students. So that's the volume. We have 11 faculties and several different institutions and so on. So it's the biggest in Finland.
Yeah, and I've actually been there and visited you, and it's you have not one campus, you have many campuses, and you have the library and so on. So it's a really big institution.
It is, yes. We have four different campuses, plus we have some satellite institutions outside Helsinki as well.
Yeah. And how long have you been working with the Onify platform for automation?
Well, I first encountered Onify in 2018, so it's been close to 4 years now. And the history of it is that our previous automation platform was kind of reached its end of life, and we wanted to see how Onify works. And at that point, it was only used to replace all our automation scripts for the workstation management. And by that, I mean that it was a kind of power tool for the IT support only internally, and not a public facing or to the wider audience. But we quickly saw that it has great potential to be used as a more general automation platform. So from 2019 onwards, I've been more closely coordinating the development effort. And around over 2 years ago, close to 3 years ago, we developed internally the first customer-facing self-service portal with Onify. Mm-hmm. That's my history with Onify, and ever since we have been developing new services each year, so kind of adding piece by piece new services to it.
Mm-hmm. And I also have to mention, because you say that you have developed, and that's an important fact. You have been developing it in the platform, and we as a consultant, we have not been doing that much. I think we were involved maybe in the very, very early beginnings, but from that on, you have been able to take over and drive and building everything on your own, actually.
Yeah, that must be said that we are probably a kind of a unique customer in that sense, both to Onify and to Zitac, because we have our own internal software development tradition, and yes, we do very much of our own development. Yeah,
but still we speak very often, and because it's actually nice to follow you and see your progress and what you're building, and giving you feedback on what you're doing, and you're giving us feedback as well. So that's really, really nice.
Yes, for us, this has been a kind of a strategic partnership, and we are almost daily in contact with the Onify company and so on.
And I know one of the processes you've been developing, and that's very much in use, is something you call the IT order process. So I bring that up as an example of what you have been doing and building. Could you talk us through how did it look like before you started to automate it?
Yeah. In this image, I try to expose all of the horrors of the old manual process. By IT orders, we mean laptops and all kinds of equipment. You need laptops, keyboards, monitors, everything you need. And the process used to take probably weeks of lead time at worst case, because as you see in the image, it was all manual. So if I, as an end user, wanted a new laptop, then I would need to consult my institution's secretary or administrator and ask about the possibilities. I would look up the product listing in our intranet and ask, usually by email, whether I can get a new laptop, and then the admin would consult the acquisitions specialist, whose workday then consisted mostly of typing in these orders to a vendor's online shop, much the same way as a private person would order from Amazon or some other web shop product. And after that, the vendor would do their job like normally, and they would send the equipment to us. And in most cases, like for laptops, then our IT support would need to do some registrations, pre-configurations, like put a sticker on the laptop with a barcode for our device maintenance needs and so on, and to register the IP addresses and so on. And then it would get delivered to the end users.
How much time?
It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of time, like waiting around in all steps. Like I have drawn these hourglasses in all steps. And it required a lot of thinking, like brain capacity. And I think one of the most painful points was to our acquisitions specialists, who were like highly trained academic people who had to spend their work days just typing in orders. And that's not a productive use of taxpayer money or human resources.
Yeah,
and lots of back and forth discussions, like checking in and asking clarifications, because it's very hard to find information.
Chase calls all the time. So the lead time, and that's how much time you spent. I mean, from every resources and not doing the correct job. But how much lead time? How long was the delivery time for a stock computer?
Well, if it's in stock, then of course after the vendor gets the order, it will soon come. So
but
probably
from when the user starts the process.
For the start, there's a delay of several days, because first I must ask my coordinator, and then they will get back to me the next day, and then the acquisitions team will get back the next day or the next, depending on their workload. So it might take several days before the order is actually even delivered to the vendor.
And that if they know what they want to have.
Yes, and if it turns out it's a wrong, actually they're asking kind of the wrong device, or it's out of stock or whatever, then you have to then start it over again.
Yeah, of course. And but how does the IT order process work today with Onify?
Yeah, well, on the next slide, I kind of drew the present day. These are very rough schematics. Now the box on the left is our kind of online shop we built with Onify. So it's very similar to, you will see in a minute, it's very similar to any kind of online shop where you can, so the end user now does the shopping directly there without any assistance. So that they can browse the product catalog right there online, and they will immediately see if something is out of stock or what is recommended, like this week or so. Especially now that there is there is this global shortage of components and equipment. So it might be some monitor is out of stock and it won't be ready until like 3 months. So now the catalog can directly recommend something else, which is like our special offers for this week.
Okay.
So the end users get immediate feedback, and they can kind of compose their request. They will be very informed, and then the order is already kind of pre-checked in that sense. Then the admin's role is to approve, and check the acquisition, whether they have budget for it and so on. But in most cases, if it's kind of happy case, then there is no need to go back and forth. It's a simple approval. And now the best part here, to me, I think everybody is happy, but to me the best part here is that the order from our web shop from Onify is directly delivered to the vendor's system, their ERP and inventory system. So there is no human involved in delivering the order.
So you have the human intervention when the end user orders. You have an intervention to somebody has to acknowledge the order, maybe. So that's the two you have. That's the only two you have.
Yes. So as I drew the happy face here to the specialist, beside the specialist, they have now more time to concentrate on their kind of strategic level. Like they can plan which products would be useful to include in the catalog. They can do intervention directly with the vendor. Like I said, now that we have shortage of components, they might do some emergency acquisitions or whatnot. But anyway, their work time is now reserved for more productive use as a specialist tasks.
But can they also control what's being offered in the system and so on?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's the kind of key point that the Onify web shop we have, it pulls the catalog data each day or each night from the vendor's side. So we have a kind of real-time catalog all the time. And it's of course it's a different one than you would get from the vendor's public web shop. Because we get special discounts, and not all the equipment that is publicly available is okay for us to order, because we have these acquisition deals and so on, and regulations. So yes, the specialists control the catalog. Yeah.
Okay. So, but now is it used by everybody, like all the university staff and students and everyone?
Well, the device orders, of course, we don't provide for students free equipment, but for all staff, basically, yes. I must say we do have, because we have 4 campuses and 11 faculties, some of them have their own old traditions. Where I know that in some institutions the staff still go through the coordinator, but for the most part, yes.
Okay.
People do this as a self-service. I just recently ordered my new laptop through Onify.
Wow, good.
So I do eat my own dog food.
No, that's great. So should we take a look how it looks like for the user?
Yes, please. So I took just some screenshots. For the end user, it's really straightforward. On the left side is the starting screen with självbetjäning. Our Swedish translation might not be up to highest standards in all places, but still that is what they get. And on the bottom there are some shortcuts to some functions or orders. But the nice thing here is that there's this search bar, which is very similar to what you would get from Google or some other search engine. So you just start to type in, like in the second screen on the right, I just typed in Lenovo, and I immediately get some search results like, what do you need? A laptop or this bag, protective bag, or what do you need? An adapter dock. And I got several results. And on the next slide, it's continued. When I drill down to the results, I get a very, very familiar web shop experience to me, that I can browse the catalog and put stuff into the shopping basket. Now the shopping basket asks me to pre-fill, as an end user, it asks me to fill all the necessary bits of information for delivery, who has authorized my acquisition, and what's my accounting code or my profit center code, and so on. Where am I physically? I can select the building and the room to where the equipment should be delivered and so on. And I can even leave in the last screenshot, there's a like place to include additional information that like you can leave it to the vaktmästaren when the equipment arrives and so on.
And everything there, so you have like lists on what buildings are there in the campuses and rooms and phone numbers and everything like that. So it's a lot of things that you can pre-put in there actually.
Yes,
in the system as well.
Yes, we have kind of pre-populated the form so that the users won't have to dig in or dig all the numbers from some other places, like what was our profit code for this institution or so on.
Okay, yeah. So you add that information.
Yes, we
have. So should we take a look on what happens and what happens next?
Yeah. Well, now there's a more geeky diagram. Sorry. Now on the left side, the blocks with blue and purple, they are the kind of the Onify system itself. So the blue one is kind of the public-facing part of it, where the end users and the admin users interact with Onify through this portal and through these different forms. The purple one is kind of the back end, delivering all the business logic and so on. Now, on the right-hand side, all the systems that Onify interacts with or talks with, and that's the thing which makes the automation powerful. As you said, we have pre-populated data from different sources, and there's another slide coming soon where there's more about that. But the thing here is that I have both our internal systems, like in our infrastructure, we have Microsoft different systems like Microsoft Active Directory and Office 365. We have our own ERP system, which is SAP. We have our own more technical systems like network registries and stuff that controls the workstations and our network infrastructure and so on. And we have connections to the external systems like the vendors. Dustin is one of our current vendors, and then government authorities and what have you, not like public interfaces. And Onify is connected through our API gateway in the middle. It's connected to all of these data sources, and it kind of pulls the information from each of these sources. And then we can easily present the data in a unified form. I think that's a product name. What's the product name stands for? Onify is kind of unify things into a single view.
But what happens if you have to, because I know you're a public organization, so you do procurements, and when you do procurements, you get a contract for maybe 5 years from a vendor. So what happens when you replace the vendor?
Well, it requires work. As it happens, we are just now preparing a new procurement for the laptops and other devices. So we'll see which of the vendors will win the race and become our new selected vendor. If it changes, we are actually now planning to include that as part of the procurement deal, so that if the vendor will be changed, it's on their shoulders to actually integrate to us, or
but it will be easy because you have an open API that you can use then.
We have an open API, and because the red thing in the middle, because we have kind of the possibility to connect into different kind of interfaces and talk different protocols and so on. So regardless of what type of exact message protocol the vendor would use, it's probably not such a big deal to integrate to them. And consequently, the vendor doesn't need to know that we even use Onify I mean, that they don't even have to know anything about the technology on Onify side, because it's all connected through the API.
But one thing that hits me, that's as a part of actually again when you do automations and use solutions like this, is that for the user it doesn't matter. They don't see any difference. So if you change ERP system or a registry system or a vendor, they don't even notice. They have the same services still. And you still have the history in the system as well.
Yes.
So, okay, really, really great. You mentioned a bit about compiling all the data, and I know that Onify uses something called objects. Is that this may be something that you want to mention as well?
Yeah. On this slide, I have kind of color indicated the different data sources. So,
oh, sorry about that.
Oops. So here on the right side, there's a kind of the card for a single workstation, and it includes all the possible details and data that is like associated with this workstation, like who is the owner, where is it supposedly physically located. Of course, if it's a laptop, then it's impossible to guess whether it's actually in that room, but we get the profit center, we get the owner's office license status, and so on. We get all the data. And each piece of information here is indeed, it's called an object. So we have all of the rooms in all of our buildings are like stored in Onify, or Onify understands them as objects, and every member of our staff, every user, or every person that we have is an object in that sense, and every monitor or laptop is an object, and so on.
And that you can search on and find and whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, like in the screenshot where it was this Google search box. The box, when you type in the box in some query, then then Onify looks for the query throughout all the objects that are there.
So that's also one of the good things with building the automations for you, actually, because you can find all the data there.
Yes.
So, but we've been talking a lot about our IT order process. What else have you been doing with Onify, and what have you been building?
Yes, as I said, we have been implementing a few services per year, depending on what are kind of the most needed ones. So we started with the device order was one of the first, but we have been building. We have a license upgrade tool for our Office 365 licenses. Then we have many of the services we have implemented so far have been IT related. So it's a kind of, I need to order a server for my new project from our own data center, or I need to order a container or what have you, on the IT side. But then the first public facing we had for a very wide audience was our software download center. As many, our 30,000 students and 8,000 staff, they are allowed to install stuff or software also on their home computers. So we needed to provide them this kind of installation channel for them to search and install different software that we provide, and that has been very, very useful and popular. Then as a kind of surprise benefit for us, we didn't think about it at first, but we have a virtual storage, which is a new concept, which is kind of an ecological alternative, because often when you have employees leaving the organization, they still have very useful laptops that could be recycled to a new employee and so on. But that's difficult to keep track on, whether if you have used stuff or used monitors or whatever. So just keeping track of it is a pain. But then we discovered that, or just came up with the idea that, hey, we have Onify and it already keeps track of all of our stuff anyway, so we could easily implement a virtual storage. And this was based on customer requests, like from the administrators and from the IT support. So we just recently implemented this kind of virtual warehouse where we can easily redistribute existing equipment.
Okay, so it's like an internal site for, is there any equipment I can buy that's already been used? So it's maybe cheap for the department. Yes. Okay, that's great. And also like a green, as you said, for that reason. But okay, so you have a lot of services here that they can use, but I know from other customers that sometimes it's hard to get people to use these self-service portals and stuff like that. What's your experience? How much has it actually been used?
On the next slide, I have the volumes I picked up. So in 2 years, we've had something like over 4,000 orders, probably now it's over 5,000 at the moment, 50,000 downloads, and so on. And then a few hundreds of different, these more esoteric orders. And for the newest services, we don't have the numbers yet.
Okay, but they already started.
Yes, but it's used. It's well received, all the services that we include.
Yeah,
so there's been no trouble.
But how about training and how have you like implemented it, and how have you get people to use it?
Well, as I'm sure if there is in the audience any others like publicly funded organizations, you will know that there are no resources for training in general for the wide audience. So there is no training anyway. But with Onify, there hasn't been any like lack of training or need for training, because everybody nowadays is quite familiar with this kind of Google-like user experience. So it's very easy to pick up. It's very intuitive for this, and we have received only very good feedback from our users. Even the admin users, who are the institutional secretaries and coordinators, they are very critical, and they have given us a lot of good feedback, and we are like keep in touch with them weekly or monthly. But even though they are very critical, they have provided us mostly with like thumbs up and good feedback.
Because it helps them in the daily work, which is a success factor as well, which is important then. Have you been addressing any, because this is really, as you say, it's also very, very IT related processes. Have you been starting to look at processes outside of IT? Are there other departments asking for functionality as well? Yes,
we are like hoping to expand the use of Onify outside of IT. It just happened that it all started with our internal needs within the IT center, but we are in discussions with, for example, our HR and finance departments. They are very interested. They already have some processes automated with different platforms. So, but they are really interested in our concept because this is in our control.
Okay.
Like we have the full control over this platform. So they are looking forward to it. Of course, our finance and HR, they are like very strictly regulated areas, and they tend to be conservative. So
it takes time.
It takes time, and they are hesitant. But so the solutions we have come up with is that we should just try and go and implement some non-business critical small thing, like some form, some simple form that it won't matter if it takes time to get it right and so on. But we won't be transferring our payroll management to Onify anytime soon. So that's my advice to everybody considering starting automation, is that start small and be brave, but start small and with a little risk.
The low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
And that really are sweet and give them a value from day one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. How would you summarize the benefits for, as you have seen them, for using and automating the IT processes like you have done?
Well, here are some of the fruits we have had so far, and some of these would probably apply to any automation platform, and some of these are specific to our partnership with Onify and Zita. Like automation really saves you time. It can eliminate lead times, as I explained with the device order process, and but most importantly, it also reduces like the human workload and frees up specialist resources to where it matters. And depending on the platform, the choice of platform, Onify is very intuitive and straightforward, and and this would vary according to what product people would choose. With Onify, I think this might be true for any kind of automation, but the better data quality is something we really hit with Onify, because of course anything always when you eliminate manual input, you will also eliminate some of the errors. But with the Onify approach, where we pull data from all of the sources almost in real time and combine them into kind of this one unified index of all of the information we have about stuff within the university, that's kind of a unique approach with Onify, that it kind of unifies and pulls together all of the data that we have.
And you find errors if there are any as well. Yes,
that's true as well. Yes, and flexible development is Onify specific, because we have really straightforward communication channel with Onify as a company, and we are in daily discussions, and we just. But this is due to our nature as a kind of this strategic partner, or having our own development team. So that might be a different situation if the customer orders a turnkey solution. But anyway, I would say that the communication has been really effortless and straightforward.
But I have to give you something on that, because even if we are consultants, we see an importance to have. And that's something that you're really successful with, is to have somebody that really drives the platform forward, that takes care of it and engages in it and listens to the users and find the needs. We really have, even if we do a lot of the work, you need somebody who's the driver internally, understands what you're doing and what the organization is doing. That helps a lot. Having your own development resources helps as well, because it gets you a better understanding from a technical point of view also.
That's precisely, yes. And I'd say regardless of what kind of customer dynamics or customer, what kind of deal a customer who looks for automation, regardless of what kind of deal they make, if they want to buy the whole service from a consultancy, or whether they want to engage with their own specialists, I think both ways are good ways to start. And the title here, Powerful Tools, Onify or any automation platform really, but especially Onify is kind of a power tool, like an electric drill or something, and you need power users. And then it's up to, this is my advice to all of you who are considering automation, then it's up to your strategy, whether if you are into in-house development, then you could follow our path and have lots of internal specialists dedicated to developing on for example, Onify. Or if it's not in your strategy, then you could just outsource the power users. But in any way, there is no free lunch in automation either. It might be cheap, or you might get low-hanging fruits with it, but there's no free lunch, so it's an investment. And so it's up to the organization's strategy whether they want to do the investment in form of development team internally, or a consultancy team, or so on. But you will need resources and investment. In return, you will get even benefits that you were not looking for. And that's kind of I love the English word serendipity, which is kind of a fortunate coincidence. Good things happen when you just have open eyes and are prepared to receive this kind of fortunate coincidences.
So is that what I often talk about, side effects when I come to products like this, and things that we haven't expected, and good things that we hadn't expected, we see as side effects. Have you seen such side effects as well?
Yes, all the time. And like I said, the virtual storage that we kind of invented is a real side effect that we just noticed that it's possible now to have this kind of green recycling option, because we have all the pieces in place already. So nobody would have actually thought about it before. It's just one example. And another like surprise benefit or a side effect was that it relates to the data quality that we talked about. With for example, with the device order process, when it was more manual, then there were more errors. Like when the new laptop arrives, it must be registered into our ERP asset management and so on, and must be registered to some building and so on. And there's lots of room for errors. So we had bad data and mistyped codes and so on. Now that it's more automated, we just get better data with it. There's no need to, in most cases, to fix stuff. And this is kind of pure side effect. Our data quality is just better.
Also, I know that many customers see when using platforms like this is also that you have the query possibility. Who has been, this user has been ordering what computers, or what has he been ordering, or how much is bought from this department, and when did they buy that, and just finding that information is very, very, very simple as well.
Yes, that's a kind of side effect as well, that some of our admin users, even though they are just might be HR coordinators or so on, but if they are computer savvy, they can actually use these queries and type in the search box. They can type queries just like you mentioned, how much has our institution been spending this year, and what kind of devices are we ordering most, and so on. And this wasn't planned in any way, but it's possible. And now some of the coordinators, they are sharing their wizarding skills, like sharing the queries. I used this one, and I used this one, and
yeah, and I know that you can actually send what the result as a link to the next user as well. But that's another story.
Yeah.
Sami, so many thanks, and thanks for sharing for us what you have been doing, what you've been building, how you've been doing it, how it affects your daily work. Is really, really great. I will just sum up a bit about what it all about, and I will take it in Swedish. I hope that's all right, Sam. I know that you know Swedish, so I'm not losing you here. I know that. But mycket av det som Helsingfors universitet har lyckats med beror ju på att de är dedikerade till att bygga bra processer och att underlätta för användarna. Och det är ju en skill, det är ju någonting man måste ta med sig. Det är någonting man behöver internt och som hjälper otroligt mycket. Men även då de här verktygen, Onify, som gör det möjligt att bygga de här automationerna och som är logiska och strukturerade och ger tillgång till strukturerad data. Och just med det här med sökmotor i botten, vilket gör Onify lite unikt, som indexerar upp all data, du får tillgång, du kan fråga efter information, tycker jag är det som är den stora skillnaden då. Sen automationen och sånt där, BPM:en är en standard, det är ett system, ett sätt att använda sig av. Det är inte i sig det unika, utan det är mycket det här med sök och gränssnitt då. Så att man kan väl sammanfatta det så här att Onify effektiviserar genom automation. Onify förenklar för användare som inte behöver access eller kunskap om många olika system för att kunna utföra sitt arbete. Skapar ordning, ger kontroll över vad som har hänt och med vad, och standardiserar ordnade data. Alla de här sakerna är ju saker som Helsingfors universitet verkligen drar nytta av. Vi har också en liten uppföljning på det här eventet. Det här är inspelat, det går att ta del av igen. Vi kommer skicka ut ett mejl, jag tror som imorgon. Och där får ni en länk till den här videon, några andra kundexempel. Ni har möjlighet att registrera om ni vill ha en egen personlig demo och liksom prata utifrån era behov och kanske gå lite mer bakom skalet. Men vi kommer också ha ett uppföljningsevent där vi pratar just om tekniken och vad man kan bygga med den här typen av teknik och ger fler kundexempel, och vi visar på olika gränssnitt, vi visar live hur det här fungerar. Och det ska hållas den 27 april, och även då länken till den anmälan kommer finnas då på den här landningssidan ni kommer hamna på då. Med det, Sami, so many thanks for helping me out today and sharing what you have been doing. Och till alla som har lyssnat, jag hoppas verkligen ni har haft nytta av det här och förstått vilken nytta som Helsingfors universitet har byggt med sin IT-automation och som jag hoppas också inspirerar er till att göra liknande själv på något sätt, men börja automatisera. Det kommer ge er hur mycket som helst. Med det tackar jag för idag och helt enkelt får vi avsluta med den här bilden då. Tack så hemskt mycket från oss båda.
Yes, thank you from my part as well, and feel free to look me up at the University of Helsinki directory and be in contact. I'll be happy to reach out to you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Sami.
Thanks.
Have a good time now. Thank you.